Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So this talk will be on the 14 battles of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So it will be a brief overview because obviously you could talk about for hours and hours on just some of them, like Chamkaur Di Jang or Bangani Da Jodh. You can talk hours and hours. So this will just be a very brief overview of all the Jang of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So I'd like to start off by praising Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, Mata Sahib Kaur Ji. So if you'd all like to join me, if I start and then you carry on. Tan Tan Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. 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 Tan Tan Mata Sahib Kaur 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 Ji Maharaj. Okay, so briefly, in terms of to make the battles of Guru Gobind Singh Ji contextual, I thought we'd look at sort of battles over history briefly. So obviously, I'm sure you know, just thinking about battle, there's lots of different types of battles. In this day and age, if you think about battling something, people are normally not talking about physical battles. Sikhi-wise, there are spiritual battles. So commonly, panchchor, lust, anger, greed, pride, attachment and ego. But also, you can talk about battling alas, which is laziness. So, for example, getting up for Amritula this morning might have been quite difficult, for myself, because everyone's just too tired or they feel, too attached to the comforts of their duvets. But also, nirpa, nirvair, fighting fear, and also fighting enmity. And that's quite difficult. Sometimes we talk about fighting, but it's about recognizing who the enemy is, and it's not necessarily a person. It's normally our own mindsets. People also talk about fighting diseases. So people battle with cancer or they battle with depression. And Maharaj talks about fighting as well in Jaupuri Sahib. The whole of Jaupuri Sahib is a benti to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is doing a benti to Maharaj so that they can attain help fighting their enemies. And Maharaj tells us who these enemies are within Jaupuri Sahib. Hamre dusta sabay tum ho. Please Maharaj, would you eradicate all of my enemies? The enemies they're talking about are the spiritual enemies that were aforementioned. But also there have been many physical battles over time, especially within Sikhi, but also outside the realms of Sikhi. And I thought we'd just look at a couple of them just to compare how the battles of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj as well, although we won't talk about them, compare to the rest of battles across history. So, can anyone think of any battles over time? Can you name some? That's probably a bit of a clue. Anyone here? World Wars? Yeah? Anyone else name any big battles, that, epic battles that have happened over time? Sorry? Mahabharat, yeah. Anything else? Anyone know any more? No? So yeah, there are quite a few. So like you said, World War I, World War II, the American Civil War, going back, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and then you've got, further back, Mahabharat, Ramayana. So looking at the reasons for battle, if you hear Katha, you might hear quite often about why people have gone into battle previously. So there was a scholar at the time of, many, many thousands of years ago in India called Jankiya, and he stated 3 reasons for battle. And these are Jar, Joru, and Jameen. Money, women, and land. Ooh. So anyone know what this picture represents? Or who this is? What's going on here? Yeah, Mahabharat. Yeah, Draupadi. So this is a picture of Draupadi, and this relates to the epic saga of Mahabharat. And I'm sure some of you have seen it. I think it came on Star Plus recently. They had I don't know if it's still going on. But this is essentially Mahabharat. And what happened in Mahabharat was essentially there's two families fighting over a throne for a specific place, and one of them challenges the other to a game, a dice game essentially, and the Pandavas, which are 5 brothers married to Draupadi, one wife, fight the Kauravas, or playing this there, fighting for the throne with the Kauravas, which is another clan. And whilst playing this game, they gamble their wife and they lose her essentially to the Kauravas. And this is, I always forget his name. What is his name? Dushanna? Is it Dushanna? I think it's Dushanna. Yeah, so Dushan is here. He's pulling Draupadi's sari because now he owns Draupadi, because the Pandavas have lost her in this gamble. But she does benti to Krishna ji, and she does benti ke tusi sadi like lajpat rakho, like keep my honor. And this is, you might not see it very well, but it's Krishna ji doing kirpa. And as Dushanna is pulling her sari, the sari is endless, and that way Krishna ji keeps her lajpat. Anyone know who this is? It's a bit harder. It's not very clear. So this is Surupanakha. Anyone know about Surupanakha? Yeah, so this was Ravan's sister. And this is in reference to Ramayana, which is the epic saga of Ram and Sita, if you want. But the reason that it started was because Surupanakha was renowned for her beauty, especially her nose was particularly beautiful. And she fell in love with Lakshman, who was Ram's brother. But Lakshman was a celibate. He was a jati, and he dedicated his life to being a celibate. And Surupanakha asked him to marry her. And he became very angry, and said, he accused her of being quite low nature. How can you, if he's a jati, if he's celibate, then how can you want to marry me, basically? And he thought that she was doing it out of her own pride, because she thought she was so beautiful, that how could Lakshman say no? So what he did was he chopped off her nose. And that's why Ravan then stole Sita, and the whole of Ramayana happened. So you've got Mahabharat that happened because of a throne, essentially Jameen if you want, or money. And then you've got Ramayana, which happened because of a woman. So how does this compare to the battles of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj? So Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, the only reason that Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj ever fought was not for any of the above reasons, it was for justice. There's a lot of julam that happened in Punjab at that time, and the other thing that Maharaj always did was they always defended. They never attacked, they always defended attacks from Pahadi Raje, and it was never an offense, it was always a defense. And there were many rules of war. I'm sure you've heard of some. Anyone know any rules of Khalsa war, if that makes sense?
Never attack back picture.
Yeah, never attack someone's back. Anyone else?
No, John, after particular times over there.
Not too sure about that, but anyone else?
Don't hit the women.
Yeah, don't take the women. Or children. Or
the elderly.
Or elderly. Anyone that can't defend themselves. Any other rules?
You don't destroy the places of worship.
Yeah. So yeah, so the Khalsa has very specific rules about how to battle. And it wasn't the same as the Pahadi Raje, who were essentially, so the Pahadi Raje are the hill chiefs, if you want, of the little mountains surrounding Anandpur Sahib, in that sort of region. And each sort of region has one Pahadi Raja. And these are the people that make up a lot of the battles with Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. That and Aurangzeb as well, but mainly the Pahadi Raje. Anybody know what this is a picture of? Deed. Do you know what it signifies, or what the importance of that deed is in the background of the rules of war? Anyone?
It has gold on there.
So it has gold on there. You know whose deed it is? Yeah. Do you know why it has gold on there?
So the person who is shot with the arrow, their family can use the money to cremate them.
Yeah. Yeah, so they can use the money to cremate them, or if they're still alive, they can use them for some medical assistance. They can pay some to get them fixed. So, starting with the first judh. So I'm going to go through them briefly because there's 14 of them and it will take a very, very long time to go through them in detail. What I'll do is I'll tell you a brief overview of why they happen and the lessons that we can learn from them, but also what Maharaj says in Vichitar Natak about a lot of these jungs. So, anyone want to name some jungs of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj while we wait for the laptop to load? How many do you know of? Where did they happen? There's 14. Some of them happened in the same place. I'll give you one of them, Anandpur Sahib. About 6 or 7 of them happened in the same place, Anandpur Sahib. But anyone know of any different ones? Chamkaur Sahib? Any others? Pangani da Jod, yeah. Any others? Mukhtasar, they're the main ones. So, Pangani da Jod. This is the first of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj's Jod. So this, at the time, this is 1686, and this is in Anandpur Sahib. They were in Anandpur Sahib at the time, and what happens is Maharaj's Mehma, their sort of fame is increasing, and loads of people are donating this to Maharaj. Shastar, Kode, themselves, Naujawan are coming to Maharaj and saying, Maharaj, we'll fight, we'll stay with you. And a lot of people are donating Shastar, but someone in particular, Raja Ratan Rai, who's a Sikh of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, or his family is Sikh from Sama of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, comes to have darshan of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, and he brings this Prashadi Hathi, which is essentially a white, if you can see it in the background, it's a white elephant who's trained to do like various acts. And in that sort of time, this is like, out of his own Sharda Pavana, this is a massive donation to Maharaj. People, talking about this for ages. He also gave Maharaj loads of Shastar. At the same time as this, Maharaj has formed something called the Ranjith Negara, which a Nagara is something as a war drum that you play at the beginning and during war to sort of maintain warrior spirit and to signify the beginning and end. But Maharaj has made something called the Ranjith Negara. It's essentially a really big Nagara. And if you think about why it's called the Ranjith, to be victorious in battle. And Maharaj is doing this all, and it's not gone unnoticed. All the Pahari Raje at this point are looking towards Maharaj and thinking, what are you doing? This is like they're feeling that Maharaj's fame and Maharaj's power is increasing, and they fear that Maharaj may come at some point to invade their lands. The most prominent of these Pahari Raje, especially in Sikh Itihas, is Bhim Chand. This is a picture of Bhim Chand. So, Bhim Chand was one of the Pahari Raje. There were loads and loads of Pahari Raje. Some were Musliman, some were Hindu. Bhim Chand, along with the other Pahari Raje, warned Maharaj to know their place. They said, Maharaj, you don't have loads of Jameen. Know that you're not a soldier. Know that you're not a king. And be very wary of accepting gifts like the ones that you've accepted and making things like the Ranjith Negara. Because all this was going on and there was tensions building between Pahari Raje, Mata Gujar Kaur Ji advised Maharaj that maybe Maharaj it's time to move from Anandpur Sahib. So that's why they moved to Paonta Sahib. So they moved to Paonta Sahib to avoid this conflict. But unfortunately, the conflict followed them. Bhim Chand decided to make a plan to try and infiltrate Paonta Sahib. And the way he did this was he arranged his son, Ajmer Chand, he arranged his son's wedding to Fateh Shah, who was another Pahari Raja, his daughter. But they had the wedding, where the wedding was past a certain point in Paonta Sahib. So you had to go through Paonta Sahib in order to get to the wedding. And they asked Maharaj for Agya, so they could bring all their barati, all their wedding party, through Paonta Sahib so that they could attend the wedding. But Maharaj knew that this was just a ploy to invade Paonta Sahib. And so Maharaj said that you're allowed to bring the Lada, you're allowed to bring the groom, Ajmer Chand, but you're also allowed to bring Panj Barati, and that's it. You can bring 5 of the party, wedding party, but that's all you can bring. So because Maharaj had said this, they only brought 5, the wedding happened. But after this, Bhim Chand and the Pahari Raja, especially Bhim Chand and Fateh Shah, they informed Aurangzeb. What they said to Aurangzeb was that you're Sache Padshah, but there's another person who claims to be Sache Padshah as well. There's another person who claims to be the king of this land, and you should do something about it before he invades. And this is where Pangani da Jud starts. So, at the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, there was lots of Sikh, but when the Nagari started playing and there were banduka and there were all the sounds of war that some of you may have read in Dasam how Maharaj so extravagantly describes the sounds of war. when this all started, a lot of the Sikh, well, not a lot of them, but a good proportion of them ran away. And later Maharaj talks about how at the end of this jang, one of the outcomes and the good outcomes was that those that were unworthy kind of got filtered away, and those that could fight and were good fighters remained. And amongst the ones that fought were these three people. Pir Buddhu Shah was a Musliman, Sufi Musliman, who was a Shardalu, who is a Sikh essentially of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And him and his brothers and his sons all fought for Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Kale Khan was also he was also a Musliman, and he brought his soldiers as well. And also someone called Mahant Kirpal Chand. The thing with Mahant Kirpal Chand, the significance of this is that they were Udasi Sadhu. Udasis are a sect of Sikhism that come from followers of Baba Sri Chand Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj's first son. And all the other Udasi at that time that were with Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj run away. And if Mahant Kirpal Chand Ji hadn't stayed and fought, then the whole of the Udasi Panth would have been humiliated, and they wouldn't have been part of the Sikh Panth for that sheer humiliation of running away at the time that Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj needed them. So Mahant Kirpal Chand Ji is to note that they didn't know how to fight. They used to carry a stick, and I forget now what the stick is called. So it's called a kutko. So this is what Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj writes about Mahant Kirpal Chand Ji. They didn't know how to fight, and they said, Maharaj, tusi kirpa karo. I don't know how to fight, but I'm willing to be in your agya and do as you say. So Maharaj said, when the opposition, when the enemy brings their kirpan forward, you bring your tal forward, and vice versa. You bring your kirpan forward, and they'll bring their tal forward. And then when there's nothing there at all, you bring your kirpan forward, you bring your chastar forward, and then hit them. And that's all Maharaj said. And with their kirpa, Maharaj writes, Kripal kopyang kutko sambari. Mahant Kirpal Chand Ji, they had this kutko, which is essentially a massive stick. Hati Khan, Hayat ke Sees Chari. Hayat Khan was one of the Mughals or the Pahadi Rajas that were fighting against them. Uthi Chach Ichang, Kada Mej Jorang, Manomaknang, Matki Khan Porang. So Maharaj describes so beautifully how Mahant Kirpal Chand Ji fought this Hayat Khan. They used their stick to essentially rip open Hayat Khan's head, just like Krishan Ji used to break open clay pots full of butter. This is what Maharaj is writing, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is writing in Vichitar Natak. And also at the time, Bibi Virok Ji, who was the daughter of Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, their son, Bhai Sango Ji, also was involved in this. So lots of Gursikhs from different times of Maharaj, like sort of over the Das Gurus were involved in this. At the end of this, Pir Buddhu Shah, obviously a lot of his family had died in this, and Maharaj asked him, Maharaj was so prasanna on Pir Buddhu Shah that he asked Maharaj, Maharaj asked, what do you want from this? You ask for whatever you want. And Pir Buddhu Shah asked Maharaj for one lad of their dastar, and their Ganga, Samet, with whatever case were in that Ganga. And Maharaj, out of their khushi, gave them that bakshish. So, during this, so the jang happened, lots of people became shaheed, a lot of the enemy became shaheed. But at one point, Hari Chand, who was one of the Pahari Raja, he thought he was a really good archer, and he called out Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and said, Maharaj, if you're a man, why don't you come and face me? So he came to Maharaj with this, and Maharaj came with their horse across the Madan, and they came to Maharaj, they came to Hari Chand. And Hari Chand, Maharaj stood there, and Hari Chand fired his arrows. And the first arrow that Hari Chand fired hit Maharaj's horse's saddle. The second one that they hit was the tip of their ear, just skimmed past. And then the third arrow hit their kamar kasa and touched their navel. And that is when Maharaj writes, when that arrow hit me, that's when this warrior spirit within me sort of enlightened. I took my bow and arrow, and I pierced Hari Chand with this arrow, and Hari Chand died on the spot. And what else is Maharaj saying in Vichitar Natak about this whole thing with Fateh Shah? Fateh Shah Kopa. Fateh Shah became so angry. Tabi Raja loho pada hum. That's why he decided to fight against me. So bin kaja. But it all turned out to be for nothing because he lost in the end. At the end of this all, a lot of you might know that Baba Ajit Singh Ji, Sahibzada Baba Ajit Singh Ji, were born at the end of this jung, and they were named because of this jung. The fact that Maharaj had won this battle led to the name for their first Sahibzada. And Maharaj talks about how thankful they are to Akal Purakh for winning this jung. Bhai jeet meri, Maharaj, I have won this battle. Kripa Akal keri, but it's all your kripa, Maharaj. Ranang jeet aaye, we came from the battlefield having won. Jayang Geeta Gaya, and everyone when we came back was singing these praises, these songs of victory. So the next jung after this, that was quite a large jung, quite a big jung, Pangani. That, along with Muktsar and Chamkaur, we'll focus on. But we'll briefly go through the next couple of, the next sort of 8 or 10 jung quite quickly. The next jung is that of Nadan. So what happened is, Nadan is, again, near Anandpur Sahib sort of Ilaka. It's 1688, which is 2 years after Pangani, and Maharaj at this point has gone to Anandpur Sahib, back from Paonta Sahib. At this point, Aurangzeb is beginning to threaten the Pahari Raje. So the Pahari Raje come to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, nearly all of them, including Bhim Chand, who previously battled against Maharaj, and they ask for forgiveness. And they've asked Maharaj, Kirpa Karo, please protect us because we are not going to be able to fight Aurangzeb. A lot of them come, but there's a couple that don't come. One of them is Kirpal of Kangra. He doesn't come to Maharaj to ask for forgiveness. So Aurangzeb sends his nephew Alaf Khan, who attacks Nadan. Alongside Maharaj, Bhim Chand is there, and there's this one of the Pahari Raja that's with Aurangzeb fighting Maharaj is called Raja Dayal Bijadiya. And he's one of the people, again, calls out Maharaj and says, comes straight to Maharaj as if he wants to fight one-on-one, and Maharaj shoots him. After Maharaj has shot Raja Dayal Bijadiya, the Mughal Fauj is coming behind these Pahari Raje. And Maharaj takes their teed and their kaman, and they fire 4 arrows with their right arm, 3 on the left. And if you've ever listened to the Itihas of Maharaj firing arrows, you'll know that these arrows used to go through many men before they would stop. And seeing these arrows, the Alaf Khan and his army run away. They literally run into the river that's on alongside out of fear. And Maharaj talks about how Pajio Alaf Khan, how Alaf Khan ran away, na Khan na Sambario, Pajio or Birang, how all the soldiers were away, na Tirang Bichario, how none of them thought about their bravery at that point because they were all really scared. After this, again, so the lesson that I think we can learn from that jung is that if you're willing to ask Maharaj for forgiveness, doesn't matter what you've done really. Bhim Chand had attacked Maharaj, but had asked Maharaj for forgiveness in Nadan, and as a result had gained Maharaj's Khushi and Kirpa, and Maharaj had fought alongside and had the opportunity to fight alongside Maharaj. So if you're willing to ask Maharaj for forgiveness, you'll always get Kirpa. And I think that, I forgot to mention before, Pangani Dajud, like Mahant Kirpal Janti, if you're willing to live in Maharaj's Agya, even if you don't have the ability to do things, if you just live in Maharaj's Agya, if Maharaj says do this, you think, Maharaj, I don't have the ability to do this, much like this talk. And if you live in that Agya, then you will always get Kirpa because Maharaj is the fruit of living in Maharaj's Agya is always going to be greater than anything that you can achieve on your own. So, Anandpur, this is the next jung. And this happens 7 years later. So all the Pahari Raja were together, fighting against Aurangzeb and Alaf Khan, his nephew, and everything was good for 7 years. And this is about the longest period of time that everything remains shant for. So 7 years later, Dilawar Khan, who is again one of Aurangzeb's buddies, he sends his son, Naeem Khan, and he sends Naeem Khan to make up for the loss in battle that they had in Nadan. 7 years later, he's sending his son to make up for it. So he sends his son, and he decides to attack Nadan. But he attacks in winter months, and it's already cold, and it's at night time that they attack, and the army's freezing. From their perspective, it's not a great time to attack. So they attack in winter, and they're approaching Anandpur at this point. Bhai Alam Singh Ji is on Peredi duty, so they always used to have someone on lookout from Anandpur Sahib. And Bhai Alam Singh Ji is there on lookout, and what happens is he sees the army coming and he informs Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And he tells Maharaj what's happening. So Maharaj asks straight away for the Nagara to be played. Nagara is played, and as soon as it is, all the Singhs get up and they are ready for war, almost like instantly. Get on their horseback and they ride down. And as soon as this all starts happening, and then there's Nagare and Banduka and Tir and all these sounds, Naeem Khan's troops decide that they're too scared. And it's already winter, so they all pull back. And Maharaj says, talks about Bachitha Natak, they talk about how they pull back their troops and how they came for something, but they left fruitless. And the analogy that they use is really imaginative. Maharaj says that they came for, so what happens, after that, what happens is they, on the way back, after not fighting at Nadan, at Anandpur, they loot one of their pins called Barwa. So to make up for the fact that they didn't manage to win, they end up pillaging one of the innocent pins. And Maharaj says that it's the same as someone claiming that they've had a delicious meal when actually all they've done is just cooked up some arode, some stones. Essentially, they claim, they wanted to feel like they were victorious, so they, put out all their anger on these innocent people, but actually, there was really not much to gain from that. So yeah, this is what Maharaj says. Salan ras jam baniyo roran khat banaye. It's the same as them eating rode. So next is Guler. So Naeem Khan, again, goes back to his dad, tells him that they looted Barwa, but actually they didn't really manage to fight against Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj. At the time, there's one of Dilawar Khan, his dad's journals, one of his generals, whose name is Hussain Khan, and he says, I want to have a go. So again, Hussain Khan comes with his army and he pillages another one of these villages called Arva. And alongside him, there's a couple of Pahari Raje, Ajmer Chand, Kirpal of Katoj, and this Himmat Rai. They also try to recruit this other Pahari Raja called Gopal Chand. But he writes to Maharaj and he asks Maharaj for assistance because he feels that he wants to live in, he doesn't want to help to attack Maharaj. Essentially, he's a Shardalu of Maharaj and he doesn't want to, be attacked by them either. So Maharaj sends a Singh called Bhai Sangatiya, and Bhai Sangatiya kills Hussain Khan, but also in the process becomes Shaheed, and 7 others become Shaheed as well. After seeing all this, Ajmer Chand, who is Bhim Chand's son, who is like the main Pahari Raja's son, he runs away. And again, Maharaj talks in Bachitha Natak, Rakh liyo hum ko jagarai, Maharaj, you kept my, you protected me. Lo kata anate barasai, the clouds of war and the rain of Shastra that was supposed to drop on Anandpur Sahib, actually you pushed them away and you kept them in Guler, because this jung didn't happen with Maharaj. They planned to attack Maharaj, but Maharaj sent one of their Singhs by Sangatiya. So next, Pulanda Jung. This is the 5th jung and it happens in the same year as the one before. This is all happening continuously. At the time of Maharaj, it was literally jung and then a couple of months and then jung, or a year or two and then another jung. It was a continuous process. So this time, Dilawar sends, the same guy who sent the previous journal is sending another journal, someone else who he wants to fight against Maharaj. His name is Jujar Singh and he's a Rajput, he's not a Sikh. And on the way to Anandpur Sahib, he's met by one of Maharaj's Gursikhs, by Gaj Singh, and at Pulan, which is the place, and Bhai Gaj Singh kills Jujar Singh before he even gets to Anandpur Sahib. And Aurangzeb, whose son is Bahadur Shah, and if anyone knows anything about Bahadur Shah, is that he later on becomes the Shardalu of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Aurangzeb makes his son Bahadur Shah the governor of Punjab because he sees that actually the Pahari Raja haven't got on top of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, that situation. They haven't been able to quite control it as well. So Aurangzeb wants his son, Bahadur Shah, who's a Shardalu, who has some Sharda for Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, to attack the Pahari Raja, but also to attack Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. But what Bahadur Shah does is he tells his troops to attack the Pahari Raja, but don't attack Anandpur Sahib and don't attack Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So, the next one, this is 3 years later, Doon Bilaspur. 1699, this is the time that Vaisakhi happened. The Khalsa Panth, is growing in numbers. It's also becoming quite martial in its sense that there's loads of Sikh are now obliged to carry Kirpana and Shastar and bring Kode. And the Pahari Raje and the sort of Pandits at that time have started to see Sikhi now as a threat to their Sanatan Dharma, to Hinduism. And they decide they're going to attack Maharaj when they're not seeing it coming. So Maharaj is going hunting at some point, and they decide to attack Maharaj whilst hunting. Bhai Uday Singh Ji is with them, and this guy called Alam Chand is one of the people that attack. And Bhai Uday Singh Ji, who was one of the closest Gursikhs to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, cuts off Alam Chand's arm. There's also a Sikh of Maharaj called Bhai Alam Singh, and he kills one of the Pahari Raja called Baliya Chand. And here Maharaj explains why, despite them having this sort of surprise attack, why the Raja lost. Maharaj explains that it's all because they had too much ego. They came with hankar. This is they haven't got any. They're not prepared for this. They were hunting. They're not going to be, and they still won. The Guru Sikhs still won. And Maharaj explains it's because they came with hankar. What you can learn from that is, even if you have the ability and even if you have the advantage, you won't necessarily triumph unless Maharaj's Kirpa is there. And after this, Azim Khan tries to attack Maharaj, but again, he doesn't manage. So, after this, Kirtpur. So Kirtpur, Anandpur Sahib, again, it's a year later. This is with Pende Khan and Dina Beg. You might have heard of Pende Khan. He was one of Aurangzeb's sort of leading men who, in Itihas, it's quite it's repeated again and again. They try to fire arrows at Maharaj. So Pahari Raje inform Aurangzeb again that actually this is, again, we're not going to be able to get on top of the situation. Please send us some help. He sends Pende Khan and Dina Beg. Bhai Alam Singh Ji and Bhai Uday Singh Ji are sent from Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, and they fight Pende Khan and Dina Beg. Because Maharaj was always at the back of the army, coordinating. If you're coordinating an attack, you need to be at the back, you're able to see everything. Pende Khan accuses Maharaj of being a coward and standing at the back while his men fight for him. As soon as he says this, Maharaj comes on their horse and they get to the front. And they said, take your aim. And Pende Khan fires 2 arrows at Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj that both miss. And as soon as they miss, Maharaj kills Pende Khan on the spot with an arrow. And as soon as the whole army see this, that their general's dead, they retreat. Next is Lohgad di Jang. So Lohgad, this is a year later. So literally this is happening year on year. Lohgad essentially means the fort of metal. And the reason it's called that is because the gates and the walls of Lohgad are fortified with metal. The Pahari Raje and Aurangzeb have asked Maharaj to leave Anandpur Sahib. Maharaj, as you can imagine, says no. And at this point, Maharaj sends Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji to command the army of 800 to fight their army of 10,000. So he sends Baba Ajit Singh Ji, Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji to command the army. At the same time, this you might know quite well the Sakhi Bhai Bajita Singh Ji and the Intoxicated Elephant. So the opposition sent a hathi, an elephant, covered or clad in metal, and they intoxicated it with loads of alcohol. So essentially you've got this metal-clad elephant charging at Lohgad. And Maharaj asked one of their Gursikhs called Duni Chand, and they said to Duni Chand that you're our hathi, you go and fight this hathi. And Duni Chand was really scared, even though he was of a big sort of qad, his shoulders, his height and his weight was quite big. He was scared that this was a pointless exercise because he was going to die anyway. So he decided he was going to run away. So he tried to run away, he broke his leg, and then he got bitten by a snake and he died. So this leaves him with no one to fight the Sharabi Hathi. So then Maharaj asked Bhai Bachita Singh Ji, who was relatively smaller than Bhai Duni Chand Ji, Bhai Duni Chand, and they asked Bhai Bachita Singh, and Bhai Bachita Singh, much like Mahant Kirpal Chand Ji, say to Maharaj, Maharaj, I don't have the ability to be able to do this. And again, in one of those things you learn from Itihas is always to be honest with Maharaj in terms of how much we can do, how much we can't. He says, Maharaj, I don't have the ability to do this. If you do kirpa, then I will be able to do this. So Maharaj gives him a Nagani Barsha, so it's a spear with essentially a curvy spearhead, and he goes out and he spears the intoxicated elephant. At the same time, you might have heard the Sakhi Bhai Kanhaiya Ji. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji was a Gursikh at the time of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, and Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj did a lot of kirpa on Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, and at Lohgarh, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj got a complaint from some of the Gursikhs that one of the Gursikhs had been helping the enemy. And when they went there, asked Bhai Kanhaiya Ji what they'd been doing, they said that they'd been feeding Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj Pani on the battlefield. And then after seeing that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji's avastha was so high that they had seen everyone, even Musliman, even the Mughals, the enemy, and even the Sikh as one, Maharaj blessed them with a lot of kirpa, and they gave him mallam patti to also bandages and sort of to bandage the wounded as well, not just to give them pani. And later on in Itihas, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj blesses them with a panth. They said, Tera bhi panth chaluga. And they are the head, or they were the beginning of the Seva Panthi Samprada, like the Udasi Samprada. They're the Seva Panthi Samprada, and they the head of the Seva Panthi Samprada. Next one after this is Nirmogarh. This is the same year as the previous attack. Pahari Raje now involve Vajir Khan, who was the perpetrator in making the Chota Sahibzade Shaheed. So Vajir Khan is involved. He sends his general Rustam Khan. So Rustam Khan and his army fire cannons at Nirmogarh, and a lot of Gursikhs at this point become Shaheed. A lot of Gursikhs that you know about, their sons are involved in this. So Diwan Sahib Singh is Bhai Mati Das Ji's son, Bhai Mati Das Ji, who became Shaheed at the time with Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj in Delhi. So Bhai Mati Das Ji's son, Diwan Sahib Singh, becomes Shaheed, and Bagh Singh. So at this point, Rustam Khan is also killed by the Gursikhs as well. The other Shaheeds are Bagh Singh and Sukha Singh. These are the sons of Bhai Mani Singh Ji Shaheed. And then you've got Khushhal Singh Ji. Khushhal Singh Ji was the son of Bhai Makhan Shah Lubana, who you may know about Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj and how they found the Guru at that time. And Kalyan Singh Ji is a son of Bhai Dayala Ji, who also became Shaheed with Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. The next jung, literally is like 1 year after the other. The next jung, the 10th jung, is at Basoli. And this is where Maharaj is at Basoli, and Raja Dharampal tries to trick Maharaj by saying, you know what, you'll be safe here, just stay here with us. And Maharaj is there, but they know what's going to happen. So Ajmer Chand, Bhim Chand's son, the main Pahari Raja, his son, attacks Basoli, and what happens every time? They lose. You think they'd learn by now not to attack Maharaj, but they have so much hankar, they think they're still going to be able to attain something. So they lose at that point, and as the Gursikhs have won this jung, there is this pind called Kalmort, which the Sangatan going to Anandpur Sahib have to pass through. And when they're passing through, a lot of the residents of Kalmort always always torment the Gursikhs going through. And in order to stop that as well, Maharaj goes and takes their army, and then they punish the villagers of Kalmort for tormenting the Gursikhs that want to go to Anandpur Sahib. So this is when everything starts at Anandpur Sahib. So this is a year later, and this is the first of the final battles of Anandpur Sahib. So they ask Maharaj to leave. Maharaj is in Anandpur Sahib, and they ask Maharaj to leave, and they are forming essentially, at this point they haven't formed a siege, but later they go on to form a siege around Maharaj. They ask Maharaj to leave, and Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji again takes command, and they take 800 soldiers, Singhs, and they attack 10,000 of the Mughal and the Pahari Raja forces. Lohgarh, which is the previous Qila that we talked about, Lohgarh is commanded by Bhai Sher Singh Ji, and Fatehgarh Qila is commanded by Bhai Uday Singh Ji, one of the close Gursikhs of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So Maharaj do bhajan to the Gursikhs, and what they say to the Singhs is, when the Mughals attack, push them away, but don't follow them. Don't go past the sort of boundaries of the hill. But the Gursikhs in their jar to, in Jung, they don't realise what they're doing. They end up following the Mughals, and then Maharaj is watching from afar, from the top of the Qila. They're watching, and they're looking at how the Sikh are not being Agyakari. And as soon as Maharaj felt that, the Sikh became really scared, and they all of a sudden came back. And Maharaj tells them later, to live in the Agya is very jaruri. It's really important to live in the will of Maharaj, because Maharaj is always doing what is right for us. Sometimes we think that we know what's correct, but actually Maharaj is always looking in our favour. So Maharaj just said that bhajan, and Aurangzeb then sends Said Khan to attack. So Said Khan is the Sala of Pir Buddha Shah. So Pir Buddha Shah was that Sufi who was a Shardalu of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, who lost his sons and his brothers in battle, who asked Maharaj for the Ganga and the case. So Pir Buddha Shah Sala, so his wife's brother, right? So his wife's brother is sent by Aurangzeb, and on the way to kill Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, or the aim to kill, he meets his sister, Pir Buddha Shah's wife, and she tells him that Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is Khuda themselves, don't attack Maharaj. Also, in addition to this, 2 other people are sent to kill Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. One of them is Memu Khan. Memu Khan is a spy of Aurangzeb, and he is sent to spy on Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. But when he gets there and starts to spy on Maharaj, he becomes so Shardalu for Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, has so much Shraddha and Prem that he becomes a Sikh. And the other person is Said Beg. And Said Beg is also paid to kill Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. He's an assassin, but he again falls in love with Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So there you've got Memu Khan and Said Beg, who are now on Maharaj's side, and then Said Khan, who's just been sent, who's the Sala Pir Buddha Shah. And Said Khan meets Memu Khan and Said Beg, and they have a fight amongst themselves because they want to protect Maharaj and he wants to attack Maharaj. And in the middle of this battle, he realizes, why am I attacking my Muslim brothers? So I'm going to attack Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj myself. So he goes to find Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, and as soon as he has darshan of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj's saroop of their face, he can't take the prakash, he can't take the light that's coming out of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj's about their saroop, so that he drops his shastra and he goes away. He can't take him, and he understands what his sister meant by Maharaj being Khuda. So seeing Maharaj's prakash, Maharaj comes into battle, and all the Mughals run away from the army that is commanded by all the Gursikhs. So the next part to this is that dies down for a little while, but in the same year, 1704, later in that year, this is when the siege is formed. This is when Anandpur Sahib is surrounded. So at this point, it's Bahari Raje and Aurangzeb's Mughal forces surround Anandpur Sahib, and they say to Maharaj, Maharaj, if you come out, we will let you go free, just give us a land. All we want is Anandpur Sahib, we don't want to hurt you. And Maharaj and the Gursikhs stayed there for months on end, and it got to a point where obviously the food is running out, and Gursikhs are hungry, and there's nothing to feed the horses, and the horses have died. And the Gursikhs are saying to Maharaj, they've said they're not going to hurt us. Please, why don't we just leave? Because we're really hungry. And they have claimed, the Hindus have taken oaths on the cows, and the Muslims have taken oaths on the Quran. And the Maharaj is saying to them, actually they're lying. But the Gursikhs are in such a difficult state themselves. They're so hungry, they can't accept that. And they ask Maharaj, can we at least try? And Maharaj says, fine, what we'll do is we'll send out loads of carts full of rubbish, and we'll cover them in really nice ramalle, so that they think they're really expensive, or really they're our belongings, and we're going to send them away. So as soon as the cart leaves the Qila, leaves Anandpur Sahib, and it gets sort of down the hill, as soon as it's sort of a reasonable distance from the fort, it's looted straight away. And Maharaj says to them, Dekho, I told you this was going to happen. And Maharaj writes in Gurbani, quite difficult to read, I think, Mara etbar bar-e kasme nist. They took so many qasma on their Quran and the oaths they took on the cows, that it's all the atbar, all the trust has faded. Na katre marda etbare bar post ke bakshi va diwan hum hai gives up a ghost. It says, I don't have trust even equivalent to a drop of water in your generals who come to me with oaths of Quran, and that I will be given safe passage out of Anandpur Sahib. They are all telling lies. And this is what Maharaj writes to Aurangzeb. So anyway, so that's what happens there. And it gets to a point where the Gursikhs really haven't eaten. And notably, Mata Sahib Kaurji's dad hasn't eaten for 10 days. And when Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj sees this, they think, Hun Sama, we have to leave now. So Maharaj, the way they leave the fort is that Bhai Uday Singh and Bhai Jeevan Singh are given the duty to command a couple of the troops to hold off the army until the Sikh, Matajis, Chote Sahibzade and Vadde Sahibzade and Maharaj can get through to Sarsa Nadi. And they hold off the troops. Baba Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji are at the back fighting alongside Bhai Uday Singh Ji to hold off the troops. And at this point, Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji, being at the back, is taunted again by the Mughals. They're saying to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj that you've kept your son at the back so that you can protect him. But what they didn't realise was that the Mughals were attacking from the back as well. So at Amritwila, they get to Sarsa Nadi, and Maharaj says, okay, it's Amritwila now, it's time for Asadivar. So at that point, they do Asadivar, even though the Mughal army is approaching them from behind. They still sit there and they do Asadivar because that is their Nityanem, and they will stick to their name, their routine. So Amrit Vela happens, and this is where everybody splits. So Mata Sahib Kaur Ji, Mata Sundari Ji, they go to Delhi. Chote Sahibzade with Mata Gujri Ji, they go to, you know the story, what happens afterwards, they become Shaheed. They go to Gangu's house. And Maharaj goes with the Vadde Sahibzade to Patta Sahib, which is in Ropar, on the way then next to Chamkaur Sahib and the next jung. So at this Nadi, a lot of the important Granth of the Sikh Panth get lost. A lot of the writings at this time get lost in that Nadi. But one of the things that doesn't get lost is the Badawa. And I'll explain what the Badawa is in a minute. So we'll come back to the Badawa. So after this, Anandpur Sahib then leads on to the Chamkaur Sahib jung. So in Chamkaur Sahib, there are 2 million forces. They're not just, there's Aurangzeb and his Mughal army, there's Pahadi Raje, and there's also mercenaries that bought soldiers that have been paid to come and fight. So Wazir Khan is there with his, and there are Chari Singh here, but these are not the Chari Mukte, they are different. They're Chari Singh in Chamkaur Sahib. Maharaj says, Gursan hai ke chare kunad chihal nar ke dah lak barayad baro be khabar. What can 40 hungry men do? This is what Maharaj is writing to Aurangzeb. What can 40 hungry men do when suddenly there's 10 lakh strong that comes onto them? At that point, there were 10 lakh. So what happens in Chamkaur Sahib, all the Singhs go out in Jathi of Panj. So there's 5 Singhs that go out, they fight, and then when they die, when they become Shaheed, the next 5 go out. And in the first lots that go out, Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji Maharaj says, Maharaj, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, tusi sanu agya baksho. I want to go fight Maharaj. And Maharaj gives them thapi, they pat them on the back and say, and they give them Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj's qatar, and they go into jung. And some hours later, the next set of Panj are sent, and Sahibzada Jujar Singh Ji are then sent. Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji fought for 3 pehar. A pehar is 3 hours. They fought for 9 hours. And Sahibzada Jujar Singh Ji was sent at a later point, but they almost caught up with Sahibzada Ajit Singh Ji in terms of where they were in the fight. Both of them became Shaheed, but their bodies were never found. They took their siris with them. At the end of this, Panj Singh do benti to Maharaj. Bhai Sangat Singh, Bhai Daya Singh, Bhai Taram Singh, Bhai Sant Singh, and Bhai Man Singh. Bhai Mani Singh, I can't remember actually. By Man Singh. And they do benti to Maharaj, Maharaj, you can make more Khalsa, but we can't make another Guru. Ke tusi itho jao, kirpa karke, we'll stay, and you set up Khalsa somewhere else after this. And by Sangat, they did not say to the house whether it was by Sangat Ji or by Sant Ji. One of them remains, and their face, their appearance is quite similar to that appearance of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So Maharaj gives them their kalgi, and they fight as a decoy. They fight or they stand there and then the Mughal army think that Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is there and they fight the Singhs. And this time, at this point, the Singhs have become Shaheed, Badde Sahibzade have become Shaheed, and Maharaj then goes on to Machiwada when they, on their own, and they uchar the Shabad Mitr Pyare nu, Hal Muridan da Kehna. Later on, the Tin Singh, so not by Sant Singh and by Sangat Singh become Shaheed at that point, but by Man Singh, by Daya Singh Ji and by Dharam Singh Ji then go on later to meet Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj in Machiwada. Now this leads on to the last jang, Muktsar. So they're talking about Badawa in a place called Ramiana Sahib, in a place called Ramiana, which is in Majha, which is one of the 3 districts of Punjab. The Sarpanchs of that region, so the heads of that region, had said to Maharaj, Maharaj, I think these battles that you're having constantly with the Pahadi Raja are of no consequence. We're not gaining anything. Please just reconsider maybe having a sort of liaising with them and not fighting Aurangzeb, because it's not really, the Sikh Panth isn't gaining anything from it. And Maharaj explained to them why it was important to fight Aurangzeb and the fight for justice. But they only saw the loss in the they only saw the loss in the short term. And Maharaj said, fine, if you disagree with what I'm saying, on a piece of paper, write down that I'm not your Guru and that you are not my Sikh, and sign it. So they wrote this on a piece of paper and they signed it and they gave it to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And the Sikh of that area, Mai Pagoji and Pai Mahasingh Ji, the Sikh of that area, heard about what happened with the Sarpanch and Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, and they went to find Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and asked Maharaj for maafi on behalf of the Majha region, because just like Mahant Kirpal Chand Ji had kept the honour of the Udasi Panth by being the only Udasi who didn't shirk back from their responsibility, just like that, Mai Pagoji and Pai Mahasingh Ji kept the large path of the Majha region by coming to Maharaj and asking for maafi and asking for the Badawa to be ripped up. So they go and they meet Maharaj at Khidrani Di Tab, which is the jagah where the Muktsar Jang happens. So they're coming to meet Maharaj, and Maharaj is already there with Gursikhs who have come to sort of rallied their troops to come to fight with Maharaj. And Chhota Sahibzade at this point are Shaheed, Matajis are in Delhi, and Vadde Sahibzade are Shaheed, and Chhota Sahibzade are on their way to Sarhand. And Maharaj is there fighting, and there's only a small number of troops that are there. So in order to give the impression that there were lots of troops, they took their kashere, their bane, their bastar, whatever they could, and they formed tents to make it look like there were lots and lots in number. And that place now, which is called Gurdwara Tambu Sahib, because it gave the impression to the Mughal forces that there were lots and lots of troops, Gursikh troops. So Maharaj is attacking them as they're coming and fighting. Maharaj is attacking them from the front, but from behind, Bhai Mahasingh and the Gursikhs, Mai Pagoji, are attacking them from behind. And we talk about Chali Mukte, they are the Chali Shaheed, they are the 40 Gursikhs that became Shaheed in Muktsar, but more than 40 people travelled and fought in that jang. So Maharaj comes and they fight from front, the rest of the forces from Majha come and they fight from behind. Bhai Mahasingh Ji is now injured, and Mai Pagoji, Mata Pagoji is injured too. And Bhai Mahasingh Ji is lying on the battlefield, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, having won the battle, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj comes up to Bhai Mahasingh Ji, just like they have to all the Shaheed at this point, and they come and they put their head on their lap and they retie their dastar, and they ask Bhai Mahasingh ki tusi dasso tusi ki mangde hain, what do you want? And Bhai Mahasingh Ji asks Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj to rip up the Badawa that was signed by the Majha Sikh, the Sarpanchs of Majha. And Maharaj asks for, ask whatever you want for. But all Bhai Mahasingh Ji wants is for those Gursikhs not to be Memukh. And so Maharaj rips up the Badawa, and Bhai Mahasingh Ji becomes Shaheed. Mai Pagoji, although she is injured, she's not critically injured, and she recovers from this. And Maharaj goes to Hazur Sahib, and Mataji goes with Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and spends the rest of their life in Hazur Sahib. And then, I'm sure you know afterwards, Maharaj leaves their sareer in Hazur Sahib and passes the Guru Gaddi on to Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. And that is the end of the Jangs of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm sorry it was a very, very brief overview of all the jungs because there are 14 and it was a bit rushed.